I know you're not a U.S. Marshal. I'm a U.S. Marshal.
Right.
I know for a fact, 100%, you are not with the U.S. Marshals. Okay? So I would just want to know why you would try to identify as a U.S. Marshal.
Being a police officer can be a pretty cool gig, and that's why you got people out there who go the extra mile to pretend to be a cop for a day. But what goes down when these wannabe cops finally figure out that they've stepped into hot water and the real cops are onto them? Check out these 4 moments when fake cops got a rude awakening. Our first case kicked off around 5:15 p.m. on July 31st of 2023 in sunny Florida. There's a law enforcement officer just minding his own business, stopping to fill up on gas, when out of the blue, he hears a siren. So he does the natural thing and he looks around to see where the noise is coming from. Lo and behold, it's a black pickup truck flashing red and blue emergency lights. Now, that's pretty unusual, especially since our officer here knows there's no emergency call around these parts that warrants that kind of response. So he hops back into his vehicle and goes to catch up with the mysterious truck. He's curious to find out who this officer is and what got them in such a rush. Little did he realize this was about to turn into one heck of a revelation.
See your other hand for me? Where are you headed to?
The driver identified himself as 52-year-old Derry Lambert, was wearing a black hat with the words Police U.S. Marshal on it, and even showed a badge to prove it.
Where are you headed to? A shooting in Marion Oaks? Okay, 10th floor.
Derry claimed there was a shooting in Marion Oaks, saying it's where he was headed in such a hurry before the officer stopped him. The officer then went to verify his claims and came back with even more questions.
Hey, sir. So the vehicle is your vehicle, is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I'm just looking for something to verify that you're a U.S. Marshal. All right.
Went to voicemail, so I left him a message.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just hang tight with me.
I got to go back to shift in about 2 hours. So
Where's shift at? Where's
I got
shift
to
at?
get my car.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, hopefully we can get this resolved really quickly. All right, thanks.
Derry initially claimed he was in a rush because there was a mass shooting in Marion Oaks, and then he said he had a shift in 2 hours. Not only was it strange, because if there had been a shooting, he'd be worried or in fact angry that the officer wasn't allowing him to perform his duty and potentially save lives. Instead, Derry changed his story, saying he was in a hurry to get to a shift he had in 2 hours. Something wasn't adding up. However, things were about to get even more complicated.
Hey, we got somebody on the phone who wants to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Sir, what is your name?
Derry Lambert.
Okay, what district do you work out of?
I work out of Texas, but they got me down. They got me down in Florida right now, looking into Marion Oaks. There's two gangs out there that are riding on a four-wheeler with a pole on it, busting into people's houses.
Okay.
And they got a call, so I chased. What's that?
What district in Texas do you work out of?
Dallas.
Okay.
My second house.
Understand that's a federal crime.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Once again, Derry's story wasn't adding up. First, he said he worked in Texas, but came to Florida to operate a case that a Florida marshal could have easily been assigned to. Derry was lying through his teeth, and the officer knew it, and Derry himself knew it. But what Derry didn't know, or probably failed to realize, is there's only so far that lies can take you.
All right, do me a favor. Just go ahead and turn around for me. Again, put your hands behind your back.
For what?
I'll explain it to you.
I've been arrested my life.
Well, all right. So you're going to be arrested for impersonating a police officer, okay? I'm going to go ahead and read this to you, okay? All right. And who do you work for? Who are you employed by?
United States Marshal Service.
U.S. Marshals, okay. You told me that you don't have your credentials with you, but they're in your
Yeah, my charger.
charger, a work vehicle.
Right.
Okay. Who's the charger registered to?
It's registered to the Marshal Service.
Marshals. Okay.
That's my personal vehicle.
So why would the marshals outfit your personal vehicle with lights and sirens?
In Texas, it's not like here.
Okay.
You don't have cars like this.
We have a Florida tag.
I know.
Moments after Derry was arrested, an actual U.S. Marshal was brought to the scene to fully expose the fraud that he is.
Hey, how long you worked for the U.S. Marshals?
About 3 years.
3 years? Okay.
Going on.
I'm sorry?
I'm finishing up at Votech and with Lacucci right now to go to work for Marion County. So.
To do what?
Maybe Derry believed his own lies. Maybe he thought that by telling more lies, the officer would be impressed and eventually release him. Whatever it was, the truth is this: the more lies Derry told, the more he dug his own grave.
Coming down the road, get a call on my cell phone. Hey, they see the four-wheeler out there on the drone. Can you come help us?
Who's that?
So
Who called you?
My squad in Texas. If you look through my phone, you'll see the 941 area code.
By squad, what do you mean by squad?
They sent 3 or 4 of us down here,
Who is they?
the Rangers.
The Rangers? Which Rangers? Like the baseball team?
No, hell no.
Okay, so what Rangers?
The Marshals.
The Marshals?
Yeah,
So what, where do you work out of Texas?
Dallas.
Dallas?
Yes.
What's your district?
District? What do you mean?
Well,
We just
if
have
you're
headquarters in town.
if you're a U.S.
It's
Marshal,
called
you would know your district.
641.
641? Okay.
That's our squad.
Okay.
But there's only a few of us here.
A few of you? Would I be one of those?
No,
I'm not a U.S. Marshal?
I don't know. I didn't see a badge.
Well, here's my credentials. I am actually a Special Deputy U.S. Marshal.
Yeah,
Here are my credentials.
yeah. Mine are in my car.
These, your credentials like this are in there.
I have one just identically to that.
Okay. I would say probably not. Because I'm asking you very easy questions to be able to identify yourself, and you're not.
At this point, it's probably pretty clear to you that Derry is not a U.S. Marshal. To be fair, it's probably been clear since the start of the video. But why? Why was Derry so adamant on pretending to be a U.S. Marshal that he was willing to risk a jail sentence to pretend and lie that he was one?
Who's your supervisor out of Texas?
My supervisor?
Yes, sir. Your direct supervisor.
Jim Willis.
Jim Willis?
Yeah.
What do you do for the United States Marshals?
Well, I normally just do raids.
Raids?
Yeah.
Okay, who do you work for?
I just told you twice.
Like, okay, so where do you work for the Fugitive Task Force? Do you work for the District Marshals?
No,
Who do you work for?
I work for the task force.
You work for the task
Like
force?
people running, we do raids. All I do is raids.
Okay, listen to me for just a second. I'm going to give you a little bit of an out or whatever.
Right.
I know you're not a U.S. Marshal. I'm a U.S. Marshal.
Right.
I know for a fact, 100%, you are not with the U.S. Marshals. Okay? So I would just want to know why you would try to identify as a U.S. Marshal. Was it to, like, get around traffic?
No.
Okay, so what were you trying to do?
I told you twice I was responding to a call.
With the U.S. Marshals?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't know about the drones out there flying over?
Sir, there is
Yeah,
nothing
no.
like that. I'm gonna give you a little tip, pro tip. Okay? There's only 3 of us in this county. You are not one of the other 2.
Officers didn't waste any time and gathered up all of the evidence they had. They slapped Derry Lambert with a bunch of charges, including pretending to be a cop, messing around with those blue lights, showing off a fake badge, toting a firearm while committing a felony, and even having some diazepam on hand. Oh, and they caught him trying to sneak contraband into a detention facility. Let's just say Derry's probably going to be cooling his heels behind bars for a good while. Behind bars can be a good place to pick up a book and learn about the errors of your ways, but what if you're already a man of the cloth? Shouldn't you know better? You've already read books. Well, Our next case is of one chaplain who wanted to play police officer. On May 19th of 2019, at the age of 79 years old, Harlan Jeffers found himself using red and blue emergency lights to direct traffic on the highway. Unbeknownst to him, this would turn out to be a grave mistake. While Harlan was driving his white Nissan and impersonating a law enforcement officer, another vigilant motorist had been observing his actions and eventually reported him to the police. Shortly thereafter, the Spark police officials caught up with Harlan to inquire about his unusual behavior.
So you're a chaplain. You're not sworn law enforcement.
Yes, I am.
You're the chaplain.
I'm a senior chaplain, yes.
Harlan explained to the officers that while he wasn't exactly a policeman, he did work for the police department as a chaplain. For context, the Sparks Police Chaplain Corps is made up of local clergies of various religions who volunteer their services to the police department to provide guidance to members of the department and community during times of crisis or any difficult time. Chaplains, like police officials, are given a badge, but they're not allowed to have red or blue lights in the car.
How long you know this works?
I've been with the department for about 3 years.
9 years?
Pretty close to that.
After a few rounds of questioning, the officials decided to detain Harlan for some time as they tried to get a full picture of the situation at hand.
Let's walk over here, sir. Search real quick.
Oh yeah, I haven't pat him down or anything.
You have it?
I've not, no.
Okay. Walk over here. All right, you're currently detained right now, okay, until we figure out what's going on.
Just as the officer took Harlan away, the 79-year-old realized things were quickly escalating out of control. Defending himself, Harlan admitted to using his red and blue on several occasions, but he claimed to only do it when there's an accident or in a time of emergency.
Turn my lights on.
You turn your lights on?
When I'm called out,
Are you?
generally if it's a catastrophe, a major accident, we'll just
But the officers, they weren't buying his excuse, especially since Sparks Police Department, where Harlan worked, confirmed to the officials that Harlan had no police authority or authorization by any agency to have red and blue lighting in his personal vehicle. After Harlan was put in the car, the officer proceeded to speak to the witness who had initially brought to their attention Harlan's recklessness.
Hello.
How's it going, sir?
Pretty good. How are you? Thanks for the what? So what all did you see?
He came flying. I was in the left-hand lane on 395 heading home from work in Reno.
So he's coming out of Gardnerville area-ish?
No, 395 from Reno.
From Reno, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, and he came flying up behind me. I'll admit, I was doing around 77 and 70.
All right.
He comes flying up, and he slows down, then he throws on his cherries. And he moves me over to the side of the road. The moment I get over to the shoulder, he zips back over and speeds up.
Okay. Was other vehicles yielding too?
Other vehicles were in the right. I was passing someone.
Okay.
There was no one that I saw. I barely even saw the cherries because this thing's in my way.
Right. That's a pretty big setup there.
Yeah. You know, for when my Jeep can't make it, I'll pull that out. I just bought it for the kid. And then I started following him, and I realized he was trying to shake me because he would speed up. The moment I would get next to him, he would slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So I called dispatch. They put me through you guys, and then I just followed him here.
How many other times did he use the red and blues that you saw?
He only has them on the front.
Right.
I did see the reflection on his window like 3 or 4 times as we were going.
Okay.
That's how he got so far ahead of me at one point.
So you do think he used them other times?
Oh yeah. And
After getting the witness statement, the officer proceeded to explain the situation to his partner. It's here that we find out Harley was using his red and blues to skip past traffic.
So the guy over there, the witness, he's working on the statement. He's got dash cam, and he says that he's coming out of Reno, 395, and he's in the passing lane, the witness, and he comes up behind him, activates his red and blues. He yields over to the shoulder, and then he takes off. He's like, yeah, he thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then he kind of came up, continued following him, gave us a call. And then he said he was just like a driving pattern was kind of different, like he'd speed up and then he'd slow down. He said his words were like trying to shake them. And I said, did you see him use the lights any other times? And he says, I couldn't see them very easily because he was in front of me and I was following. But he said he felt that at least maybe 2 or 3 other times that
But he saw the red blues?
because he yielded to him
So he yielded to him.
to get out of the way.
Oh, okay.
So he gets out of it because he's in the fast lane. He's passing other vehicles.
Okay.
Truck comes up behind him, gets him to move over, which he does. And he's like, "That's weird." And then he kind of followed it. And he thinks maybe 2 or 3 other times between all of this that he saw the red lights, blues come on like a reflection off of another car. But
Well,
that's the best he could
saw
say.
him do it to him, which was good enough, and he admitted to using them. And he just put him in last week. And he's like, I am a sworn. I was like, you're not a sworn police officer.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
You're a sworn chaplain.
Yeah.
With the police department.
it's one of those like, hey, it's more of this has been bestowed upon you out of a mode of respect.
Yeah.
Not that you have law enforcement powers.
Yeah.
That's a red and blue, and that's a red and blue, and
They both are?
Yeah, and you just activate them with this thing here. I don't know what. I guess this is that's a cell phone charger. But yeah, you just flip these, they start working.
More police officials arrived at the scene, and after gathering enough evidence, the officers moved to confiscate Harlan's badge.
So physically just take this.
And the bat and the shield.
Pictures of it already?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So take the badge out of there and we'll leave his wallet with his property.
In a regrettable lapse of judgment, Harlan, a 79-year-old chaplain who is expected to uphold the law rather than violate it, saw his world come crashing down. He lost not only his reputation, but also his standing in the community, and ultimately, his job. Subsequently, Harlan found himself facing arrest and charges for equipment violation related to the use of red and blue lights and impersonating a police officer. Harlan might have been a little too old for his antics, but now we're going to take a look at a kid who was a little too fresh-faced to pass as a real officer. Allow me to introduce you to Brandon Wasinski, an 18-year-old from New Mexico. It was around 12:30 in the wee hours when Brandon decided to pull a traffic stop. However, his actions didn't go unnoticed by a passing real police officer who sensed something was amiss. See, Brandon's vehicle lacked any police markings, yet it was decked out with flashing red and blue lights. What made matters even more perplexing was Brandon's attire. Instead of a police uniform, he was sporting a baseball cap, blue jeans, and white sneakers. The officer decided to approach for a closer look, suspecting that Brandon might be up to something fishy.
You gotta talk to him for a minute.
Intrigued by how a young man was making a traffic stop in the middle of the night, the officer decided to quiz Brandon about who and what department of the police he worked for.
What's going on? Who do you work for?
Early Country Club.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm under-equipped.
Okay, because normally, dude, if you're out here, man, if you're making a traffic stop, you're just gonna have to stop, dude. Alright?
Brandon told the police officer he was working for the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, even though he looked like he belonged in the football squad of some high school team. The officer immediately knew something was up, so he asked Brandon to show some means of identification to confirm his status, and this is where things start to get even more tricky.
You say you work for Bernalillo Sheriff's?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an ID with you?
And this is all I got on me. Like I said, I'm under-equipped. I was just heading over there to the courthouse
To the courthouse for what?
to get my crap.
Okay.
I know, it makes no sense. I caught him going 120 down I-40.
Okay. Why do you have lights on this vehicle?
Personal? I know.
Do you have an ID with you at all?
No, I keep it on my uniform.
Brandon said he worked at the sheriff's department but had no other means of ID except for his badge, and was going to the courthouse to get it before he saw a driver going above the speed limit and decided to pull him over. And when the officer asked him why he was flashing blue lights, he simply said it was for personal reasons. But because Brandon's story showed a few gaps, like how he was under-equipped, the officer knew something was up.
And I'm not here to mess with you, man. It's just the thing is, yeah, he was speeding, dude. You could have called it in, and because if you get into shooting, you're screwed.
Right.
All right, man.
I understand.
Right.
This, for starters, I know this looks really bad.
Right.
This looks really bad. This screams whacker.
Right.
One thing you gotta give Brandon, though, is his confidence. He might be 18, but all throughout the interrogation, he acted like nothing was wrong and he just played it cool. However, it's that confidence that would eventually spell his doom. But for now, Brandon was bouncing on it.
How long you been on?
About 3 years.
Okay. I've been on for like 13 years. Alright, so I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying that I've never done anything to against protocol, but you need to be a little bit more careful, alright? So just do me a favor, hang tight for a second, okay?
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna and that's it, alright? Once we're done here, we're done, alright? So just
Now, if you're thinking that Brandon's confidence just might steer him out of trouble, think again. Because the police officer had reached out to his superior to come down and help. And as far as Brandon, his day was about to go from bad to worse.
Hey, Brendan. In the meanwhile, man, until I get somebody out here, man, do me a favor. I'm not going to handcuff you, but I'm going to have you sit in the back of my car, all right?
All right.
Do you have anything on you, man? Any weapons or anything?
Keys.
Okay.
Keys and wallet.
That's fine. Just have a seat, all right?
All right.
As Brandon sat in the back of the police car, watching the officers discuss his situation, Brandon began to think hard about his situation, and that's when the 18-year-old realized a daunting truth. He'd messed up. There was no going back.
What's that?
Can you talk to me real quick?
Yeah, give me 1 second. What's up, man?
All right. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay.
Up to this point, Brandon had kept his cool and acted like he was in the right, but now everything was falling into pieces, and the boy behind the costume finally revealed himself.
I'm just gonna be
Where'd you get that
honest.
badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay? For a second.
This is a situation many of us have found ourselves in the past. That moment that your lies finally catch up to you, and you're left with nowhere else to run but the truth. As Brandon contemplated his terrible decisions, the officer explained the situation to his superior.
I was heading northbound on 4th Street. See this unit, 54 in the car. I'm like, okay, it's this car that's right here. And the guy was wearing jeans, no gun belts, no nothing, a t-shirt. And I'm like, and just wearing like an Air Force hat. So I'm like, that's strange. So I flip around, and his plates come back to civilian, doesn't come back to, a skip or anything. So I stopped. I talked to him for a minute, and he's like,
It's here that the cop also reveals to us that Brandon had also lied about his age.
he first told me he was born in 94. When I checked the plates, he was born in 2001.
We also find out that the officer did some background checking on Brandon and discovered something that might explain why Brandon decided to start playing police.
I double checked with MVD. His OLN comes back to 2001. I had him sitting back in my car because it's kind of weird to me. And right now, when I was getting out, he's like, "Hey, let me talk to you." I was like, "No, I'm not a cop. I just bought this badge online."
So he's not an ECSO employee at all?
No.
After reaching a conclusion with the sergeant, Brandon was finally arrested.
Hey, Brandon, step out of the vehicle for a second, man. Okay, face the vehicle. At this point right now, you are being under arrest. Do you understand?
Okay.
Go ahead and have a seat. And give me a moment, and then we're going to talk a little bit more, okay?
All right.
It's unclear whether Brandon was just having fun playing police officer or if he actually dreams of one day becoming an officer. Whatever the answer is, instead of enrolling into a police academy to become a proper official of the law, this 18-year-old decided to take matters into his own hands, and he ended up in cuffs because of it. Now, you'd expect the story to end here, but it doesn't.
If I take a look at your badge, would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
You got this online?
At this point, Brandon had been caught and arrested, and logically, he should be done with the lies. But instead of telling the officer that he got the badge online, like he previously told the first officer, the 18-year-old decided to lie again.
You got this online?
It was at one point my father's.
Brandon even shed some tears and begs the officer to let him speak to his wife, which was probably a lie too.
Do you mind if I call my wife and tell her I'm not coming home tonight?
Just give the decision these gentlemen make. If you'll hang tight.
Yeah, give us a little bit, all right, mate?
So I need you to lean back a little bit. Thank you.
Can I please help my wife?
I'll give you, when we get to the substation, we'll give her a call. Okay?
While this one ended up with a young kid crying like a baby, the next and final case is a creepy mystery that could have been a weird side mission in GTA. The story unfolds in the early hours of September 1st of 2023, when an Atlanta police officer received a call about an auto accident around 3 a.m. The officer wasted no time and promptly arrived at the scene, but it didn't take long for them to realize there was something off about the situation.
What's going on, man?
Somebody just hit us at the red light. This my husband.
Standing at the scene of the incident was 42-year-old Patricia Smith and her husband, 47-year-old Samuel Smith, who was heavily intoxicated and, even more surprising, handcuffed.
Is he okay? Sir? He in handcuffs? Why is he in handcuffs?
I can't answer no questions, sir.
Hold on 1 second. Leave him there. Leave him there. Leave him there. Leave him there. Leave him there.
An ambulance was later called to the scene, and the couple were both arrested. Patricia was charged with DUI and other traffic charges, while her husband Samuel was arrested on an outstanding warrant. With the couple set to go to jail, one of the senior officers went over to ask Patricia about the mystery behind her husband's cuffs. The answer to that question would lead the officers to another clue in the mystery.
Hey, how did he wind up in handcuffs, love? How did he wind up in handcuffs?
Sir, we just left the strip club.
Which strip club?
Peaches.
Peaches? Okay. I got you. Over on RDA?
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Did you guys get into it with security over there?
Sir, I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that's my husband.
Gotcha. Say less.
I'm going to grab your
Appreciate it.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. You're good.
Despite knowing she was heading to jail, Patricia refused to reveal the identity of the man that put her husband in cuffs. However, she did give the officers a new lead, a nearby strip club named Peaches. And so the officers left the scene of the accident and drove to the nearby club, where they met 49-year-old Terrence Jacks, dressed in a complete DHS outfit.
What do you work for?
Homeland.
Okay.
Jacks told the officers he worked for the Department of Homeland Security as a special agent, and to be fair to Jacks, he genuinely looks the part. The 49-year-old was dressed in a vest that had police on it, had a special agent badge, a handgun, and a sedan equipped with blue lights, all of which supports his claim of being a special agent. But because Jacks told the officers he was a DHS special agent and looked both nervous and unsure of himself, the officers immediately knew something was off. But first, they needed to know what happened earlier with the couple that they found.
Did y'all have some up here a little bit ago? Male and female get into it with anybody?
Yeah.
Left in a pair of cuffs?
Yeah.
All right. What was the story with that?
Jacks admitted to handcuffing Stephen, but he claimed it was only because they were making a nuisance of themselves in the club.
They were just drunk.
All right.
And
whose handcuffs is he wearing?
Mine. He took off. He jumped in the SUV and took off.
Yeah.
At this point, it was clear to the officers that Jacks was lying. So the officers detained him a little further to confirm his status as a DHS special agent. And it's at this point that Jacks' lies began to crumble one by one.
Here's what I want you to do for me, okay? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take your firearm off your side. Okay?
Okay.
You got just syrup out here?
Yeah.
All right. Place that in my car. I'm gonna detain you for right now.
Okay.
All right.
The officer then began to strip Jacks of his badge and other accessories.
Right now, you are not under arrest. You're just being detained for the further investigation here. Do you have a key to your handcuffs?
In the car.
Keys in the car?
Yeah.
Who's the radio through?
Now, up until this point, Terrence Jacks had maintained his position of being a DHS special agent. However, Terrence must have realized that he'd already been backed into a corner, because when the officer asked him the next question, Jacks didn't lie. Instead, he chose to shoot himself in the foot.
eBay. Nobody.
Okay.
Wanting to confirm that he heard that correctly, the officer asked again.
It's not a Homeland radio?
No.
Okay. for a minute. Okay, I'm gonna have you have a seat in my car for a minute, okay?
As Terrence Jack sat in the officer's car, more officers joined the scene as they tried to figure out who Jax was and what his motives were. And that's when they discover even more shocking details.
The license plate is off of a Bluebird school bus from Tucker, Georgia. That's how he got a GB tag.
Radio check this thing.
The police officer collected all the evidence they had, and as a result, Terrence found himself in a spot of trouble. He was arrested and hit with charges of impersonating a public officer or employee, leading to his being booked into the Fulton County Jail.